Welcome to February 2025. Thanks for joining us here for this monthly update around energy. As we enter the month of February, so many of us are thinking about love, self-love, and the way that love is experienced in our reality. And I want to talk a little bit about shame and how that can play a role in self-love or in romantic love or even platonic love. So many of us were raised in a home where shame was a tool that was used to manipulate and get specific behaviors out of us as children. And unfortunately, for anyone who was raised in a home that used shame as a tool to manipulate, it is something that your nervous system may have become very comfortable with. And I want to pause and say, just because your nervous system is comfortable with it doesn't mean that it's something that you want to embrace. I don't know many people who think, I'd love to feel shame today. We don't do that. But when we've been raised in a home that used shame as a tool to manipulate, it is an energy and an emotion that we know very well. And our nervous system is actually used to living in shame. And unfortunately, what that means is that even when we have outgrown living in an environment where we were manipulated through shame, we might then turn that same pattern onto ourselves. So if you were raised in a home that manipulated through shame, then your nervous system is actually comfortable in shame. Doesn't mean that you like it, but it means that you're comfortable in shame. And so many of us will turn around and shame ourselves. And I think that it's a topic that we don't talk about enough in our culture. If you want to change your relationship with shame, then you're going to need to shift how your nervous system engages with shame. And unfortunately, if you were raised in a home where shame was used frequently as a tool to manipulate behavior, then your nervous system is actually pretty comfortable in shame, which might look like you shaming yourself as an adult. Maybe when you wake up in the morning, you shame yourself because you're tired and you should have gone to bed earlier. And then you start your morning and maybe you're trying to give up caffeine, but you drink caffeine because you're tired, and so you shame yourself for drinking caffeine. And that's piled on top of the shame that you had for staying up too late last night. And maybe then you grab a quick breakfast rather than making some healthy option. And maybe you have set the intention of trying to be healthier in your diet and to your body. So then you shame yourself for eating a breakfast that is fast and not filled with dense nutrition. And then as you go to work, you shame yourself for the way that you look in your outfit and that you didn't eat a nutritious breakfast. And so you shame yourself all the way to work. And then when you get to work, you are sitting in shame, and so you're not present with the work that you're doing. And so then you shame yourself that it's taken you longer to write the email or to go to the meeting, and maybe you're not present in the meeting. So then when you leave the meeting, you shame yourself that you weren't present during the meeting and that you were thinking about when it was that you could get to the gym and exercise because you ate a breakfast that you were not proud of. And then as you're sitting at your desk, you're not accomplishing the kind of volume of work that you want to be accomplishing, or maybe the quality of the work that you are producing isn't what you want it to be. And so you shame yourself for that. And then you go to lunch, and maybe you eat a healthy lunch, but you're still shaming yourself from the breakfast that you ate. And so you shame yourself and you go for a walk on your lunch break. And instead of being present with how great it feels to be out in nature taking this walk on your lunch break, you shame yourself that you didn't eat the way that you wanted to today. And you come back from your walk, and then you shame yourself that you weren't present with your walk, enjoying nature and the way that the sun felt on your skin and the way that the wind was blowing. And you know better because you've been taking classes. And so then you shame yourself that you've been taking these classes, but you obviously haven't learned anything because you're not being present at your walk. And you move into your afternoon, where you're thinking about, oh, I forgot to get out something for dinner. And so now I'm going to order pizza. And you shame yourself for not having a nutritious dinner for you and your family. And on the way home from work, you stop and you pick up the pizza and you shame yourself that you weren't present at work today. And when you get home with your children, then you are rushing through your evening and you shame yourself that you fed them pizza instead of making something for dinner because you set the intention to be healthier to your body and maybe to work on your finances. And instead of working on your finances and taking something out of the freezer and making it for dinner, you bought a pizza, which is not in alignment with what you are trying to do financially for yourself. And so at dinner, you're shaming yourself that you could have done better, which means that you weren't present with your children. And then at bedtime, you shame yourself because you weren't present at dinner time. And you can see how this just rolls from one shaming event into another, And so frequently we do this. When we've been raised in a home that used shame to manipulate, we then use that same exact pattern, not because we like it, but because it is something that is so familiar to our nervous system. And one of the reasons that taking a somatic approach to working with shame can be so incredibly effective is because you're engaging your nervous system. And as you break that pattern, as you have conscious awareness of where the pattern has come from and why you embody it, you don't shame yourself for shaming yourself. You love yourself for understanding where this pattern came from. And it doesn't mean that you accept it. But as you do that healing, if you're taking a somatic approach to it, you're going to engage your nervous system differently. And you're going to shift your relationship with shame. And you might be able to catch yourself as you're shaming yourself throughout your day and rewrite that story. And it's not just about cognitively, cerebrally rewriting the story, but to actually drop into the body and feel a shift in the body around the story that you've been carrying of shame versus a different story, possibly one of pride. The opposite of shame is pride. And so it doesn't do us much good to just cognitively think about the things that we're proud of. We actually need to feel them in our body. And again, that's one of the reasons that taking a somatic approach can be incredibly healing when we're looking at healing one of these patterns inside of ourselves. We don't shame ourselves into change. We love ourselves into evolution. And so taking an approach where you are able to feel in your body, in your nervous system, the shift into safety, into pride, is so incredibly important when looking at changing these patterns. If you're not engaging your nervous system, this pattern is going to take a very long time to break. But when you truly engage your nervous system with the healing around these kinds of patterns, and when you bring self-acceptance and self-understanding and self-actualization, you're able to create different stories in your mind. And you're able to stop these patterns. And so if you're somebody who finds yourself sitting in shame frequently, I just want you to know a couple of things. One, it's not your fault. Most likely, you have a deep relationship with shame that has been present for years, if not the majority of your life. And two, when you do the nervous system healing around that shame and bring yourself into new stories that are held inside of your nervous system, you're going to see a huge shift in your reality. If we are new to each other and you don't know me, then I want to pause and say that I talk a lot about the stories that we tell. Humans will take a small number of facts and will create a story around those small number of facts. And that story that we tell creates the meaning out of the human experience. And that meaning out of the human experience elicits emotions. And so if you want to have a different reality, learning how to tell different stories, not just from a cognitive cerebral standpoint, but from an embodied standpoint, is going to change your reality. Because the truth is that we all tell stories all day, every day. We will take a small number of facts and we'll create a story around it. And that's what creates the meaning out of our life. And so it seems simple, but it's true that telling a different story is going to give you a different human experience. And telling a different story isn't just a cognitive cerebral experience. You really want to engage the nervous system, engage the body with the new story that you're telling. You want to feel the new story in your body and feel what the emotions are. It's one of the reasons that somatics and taking a somatic approach is so incredibly healing, because mind is the least effective channel at digesting energy. And so if you want to look at changing your reality, you need to look at engaging your nervous system, not just having a cognitive cerebral shift. And so if you are looking to change your relationship with self-love, with platonic love, with romantic love, learn to engage your nervous system. There are so many practitioners out there. We run courses and classes and do coaching that engages your nervous system. And there are many, many other really talented practitioners out there as well. It doesn't matter to me who you see, but it does matter to me that you learn to engage your nervous system in the healing process. Because when you do that, you are going to see real change in your reality. That change may be fast, it may be slow, but you're going to see change. And someday, you're going to recognize that the subconscious stories that you are telling on repeat have shifted. And you shift out of telling stories that are shameful. And you start reprogramming your subconscious around pride, around self-love, around self-acceptance, around self-actualization. And you begin to tell stories that are in alignment with the way that you want to feel in your life. And when you do that work, when you go through the mindset shift and the embodied shift, and you learn to tell different stories, you are going to change the life that you're living. The people who look like they are just magnetic, amazing things happen to them, they come to them. That is done through shifting frequency. And a big part of shifting the frequency that you are embodying is about engaging your nervous system and telling different stories. And so as you sink into the month of February, I just want to invite you to begin to learn to engage your nervous system with the new stories that you're telling that put you in a frequency that you want to be living your life from. Law of attraction is something that I think everybody has heard about. And it can feel really frustrating if you've been doing a lot of work around law of attraction, and yet you're still not attracting the experiences or the blessings or the people into your reality that you want to be attracting. And the reason for that is that our subconscious determines the vast majority of our reality. Somewhere between 80 and 90% of our reality is driven through our subconscious. And so you're actually going to see change when you engage your nervous system. When you engage your nervous system, you are accessing your subconscious. And that's why cognitive work alone isn't going to get you the kind of shift that you're looking for. And it's why working with someone who teaches you how to engage your nervous system can have such a profound impact. Because again, if let's say 85% of your reality is determined through your subconscious, if you're not consciously aware of the stories that are running in the background, you're not going to change them. But if you take a nervous system approach, if you work with your subconscious and you bring those subconscious stories into your conscious awareness and learn how to work with your nervous system, you will learn how to reprogram your subconscious. And when you reprogram your subconscious, then that is what is driving your reality, just like it was before. But you've reprogrammed what it's running. And so the place that you are creating your life from is that of safety rather than fear. It's creating your reality from a more conscious place because you have more access to your subconscious. And as you get the stories out of your subconscious that have been stuck there since childhood, you get to reprogram them. You can reprogram them into any truth that you want to be embodying and holding. And then that is where you create your reality from. If you'd like to join us for a 6-week workshop that starts in early February, we would love to have you. The workshop is called Discovering Infinite Possibility. And it will walk you through how to become in magnetic alignment for the frequency that you want to be embodying and holding. It will walk you through how to surrender and to stop trying to live your life from a place of control, from a place of fear, but how to access trust and surrender and faith. And then how to open yourself up to possibility, not just from a cognitive standpoint, but through engaging your nervous system in accessing infinite possibility. And if that sounds like something that you'd like to dive into, then check out the description on this video, and there'll be a link to that workshop. I hope that as you lean into February, you lean into your own nervous system and your own healing journey, and that you begin to access more safety, more pride, and more self-love. Thanks for joining us here for this monthly update on energy.